This video is a biomechanical analysis for injury prevention for defensive slides and changing direction during defensive slides. This topic is important because many athletes do this incorrectly and get injured in the process. Here are some common causes of injuries that lead to improper technique that further lead to injury. Strength deficits, which often cause players to compensate, which leads to injury. Mobility deficits, complexity of movement, or simply the lack of knowledge needed by the player to perform the movement properly. When it comes to injury prevention, technique is extremely important. Technique is defined as the ideal model of movement. It is viewed as the most rational, economic, and efficient way of performing a sporting action. Most sporting actions must be done to a specific pattern. In this instance, the sporting action being analyzed is a defensive slide. When doing a defensive slide, it is important to make sure your shoes have a great amount of traction. You want to start off by sitting in a chair position by loading your hips and activating your quadriceps and hamstrings to allow knee stability. From there, you want to sidestep slowly, making sure your feet do not touch. You push off your back leg to propel you forward. This is a clip of what a defensive slide should look like at a fast pace. Although the feet come very close, notice that they never touch. This is what a defensive slide should not look like. Your knees should always face forward. They should not be twisting or turning, for it causes more stress on the knee. This band is a good indicator of good knee posture. You want to place the band above your knees and sit in a defensive stance. The objective is to have no lack in the band. A lack in the band would indicate bad knee posture that could result in injury. After mastering the basic side shuffle of a defensive slide, there are two ways to change direction that will be shared and demonstrated. The two different ways to change direction are known as a drop step and a hip turn. A drop step is an action that involves a reverse pivot that shifts the hips of the defender and allows them to stay in front of the offensive player. Here you are given a visual representation of a drop step. Using the same principles as earlier for the side shuffle, you side shuffle and you plant your foot and you pivot backwards as shown right here at a 45-degree angle. Here is a demonstration of a drop step at game speed. Next, you will be introduced to a hip turn. A hip turn is similar to a drop step. However, a hip turn uses more of a hopping action to shift the hips as opposed to pivoting. Both feet leave the ground momentarily during a hip turn. The hopping action can be observed in this video. When the side shuffle comes to a stop, the hips are flipped by hopping. There is no pivot involved. If you pay close attention, both feet move the ground for a split second. This is a demonstration of a hip turn at game speed. When it comes to injury prevention, the hip turn method wins. Between the drop step and the hip turn is proven to be more efficient and more effective. Not only has it been proven to be more efficient and more effective than the drop step, the hip turn has also been proven to be easier on the knee. The planting and turning of a drop step has been proven to put an extra load on the knee joint, increasing the risk of injury. Now that a safer way of changing direction has been shown and identified, it is now time to acknowledge the surface that the change of direction takes place on. Most basketball courts have a wooden surface, while others have concrete surfaces or interlocking surfaces. The surface of the court is extremely important because surface combinations with high friction coefficients have been proposed as a possible cause for non-contact ACL injuries during a change of direction. It has been suggested that courts with sliding surfaces are better for athletes when changing direction. However, results from research indicates otherwise. This graph is a visual representation of the findings. It was predicted that the indoor interlocking surfaces, which are known to have more horizontal movement upon impact, would produce a greater moment in the knee and ankle joint, which would result in more force from the athlete. However, if you continue to look at all of the bars, you will notice that the surfaces that allow the least amount of horizontal movement, which are the rolled vinyl surface and the wood surface, resulted in more force produced by the athletes. The interlocking surface is shown on the right. The horizontal movement allowed by the surface creates a greater adduction moment in the knee joint. High knee adduction moments can lead to injury and are associated with patellofemoral pain. The image on the left allows less horizontal movement, thus creating a smaller adduction moment in the knee joint, which is more desirable. In a game full of inevitable moments, it is nice to be aware of things you can adjust to decrease your chance of injury while playing defense. Two main points to focus on are the method used to change direction and the surface you are playing on. When playing in your leisure time, be sure to avoid surfaces that allow too much sliding, as it will increase your risk of getting a knee injury. Also, be sure to implement hip turns while playing defense to reduce the amount of stress on your knee.